My siblings, 24 male, 22 female, and I, 26 male, were raised by a single dad, 45. Our dad was great. He was loving and caring and always put us first. Because of this, we never missed our deadbeat mom. My dad even sacrificed his love life, though he never dated anyone. My brother, 24, disowned our dad around 3 years ago, for a reason I'd also disown him, to be honest. My brother found our dad and his then girlfriend, 27 now, doing it. Thus, my brother got mad at my dad and cut him off, moved out of the house, and went to live with some friends. No matter how hard my dad has tried to apologize and reach out to him, my brother ignores him. My dad has suffered a lot and has gotten mad at us many times since my sister. I know where my brother lives. We visited him a couple of times, and he demands we let him know, but we can't because my brother threatens if we ever tell him, he'll go no contact with us. The thing is that this woman got pregnant with twins, but she didn't feel like being a mom, so she left them to my dad. My dad tells everyone that he's raising his grandkids. He swears they're my brothers, but I'm sure they're his since my brother says he used protection. The kids, twin boys, had a birthday 2 days ago. He hosted a small party, so my uncle started asking about my brother as the kid's father since no one in the family knew what happened. So my dad started talking crap about my brother, saying that he was an ungrateful son and a terrible father for leaving 2 kids behind. I think my dad's angry at my brother for not forgiving him. As everyone in the family saw my dad as an example for his sacrifices, they started talking crap about my brother. I love my dad wholeheartedly, and I'd do anything for that man. I know all my siblings would. Still, he tried to portray my brother as a bad guy, and I love my brother, so I told him he wouldn't have disowned you if you hadn't slept with his girlfriend and got her pregnant. Everyone looked at him, and he tried to excuse his actions, but everyone told him to shut up and beg for more info. Since then, they've called my brother to apologize, but my dad is angry at me. He says this is a family matter, and I should have kept my mouth shut. My wife says I did the right thing, but my sister's on my dad's side. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He says this is a family matter. Which family? The one whose origin he's lying about? The one he's trying to lie to? Or the one he wants to make complicit in those lies? Regardless, this is 100% about him going out of his way to try and throw your brother under the bus and expecting no one to call him out on that. And he still wonders why no one wants to help him get back in touch with the guy? He wasn't thinking of family when he had intimacy with his son's girlfriend. Instead, he wants to paint himself the good guy while bad-mouthing his son, whom he betrayed. OP's dad needs a slap of reality. Now he has to face the consequences of his action. So hypocritical to pretend to be the grandfather of the year when he could be the father. Hasn't anyone done a paternity test on the twins? I don't trust the girlfriend either. If they are your dad's, raising another group of kids at his age is his karma to bear for cheating on his poor son. Those poor innocent kids, an absent mother and an unknown father. I'm sure your father hasn't done the DNA test yet because he just wants to lie to himself because his actions made his son cut him off. He also doesn't want his family to be on your brother's side because he wants them to pressure your brother back into his life and into forgiving him. So if he gets that DNA test, he has no excuse for his current situation besides himself and his actions, and he hasn't accepted that all of this is his fault yet. I'd probably take a closer look at your father's parenting and relationships. 2 different women abandoned their kids with him, and he's blatantly playing the martyr, even though he knocked up his son's girlfriend. Has he always been this manipulative? Is it possible he's a really toxic partner, and that's why he stayed single while you were growing up? I don't know why you still talk to him, knowing what he's capable of. My 29 female, husband 32, Jake, and I recently had a baby girl. By recently, I mean last night. A few weeks ago, I was invited to dinner at my mother-in-law's home. She told me she had something important to discuss, and I knew exactly what was coming. When I sat down, she held my hand and said, "Jake and I have talked, and we think it would be best if I replaced your mother in the delivery room." I said I was sorry, but my mother had already been invited, and I was uncomfortable not having her there. She squeezed my hand tighter, saying that it was not just up to me. Side note, my mother-in-law has never been the nicest to me. She would always make snide remarks about my weight and skin color. I said no again and said it was my choice as I was giving birth. The subject was then dropped, but when we got home, my husband blew up at me, saying he had just as much a decision as me in this. I disagree. It'll be me giving birth, and I need my mother there. He said fine, and we both forgot about it. Yesterday, I went into labor. First, I called my husband as he was staying at his mother's at the time. Then, after about an hour, I called my mother. She was shocked to hear from me and said my husband said I didn't want her there. I told her I did want her there, and she came straight away. My husband got to the hospital about 20 minutes after my mother, and when he got there, he brought my mother-in-law. I completely lost it. I started yelling at him and scolding him for telling my mother not to come, and then he started shouting at me for not letting him bring his mother. Finally, after he had shouted at me for about 5 more minutes, I told him to leave. I said I didn't want to see him or his mother ever again. I'm still not sure if I meant what I said or not. Because of the stress put on my body, the birth became more dangerous, but my mother was here for me the whole way. Not the idiot, and what your husband did, telling your mom that you didn't want her there, was just evil. I do not know where you go from here in this 3-way relationship. Congratulations on your new baby, and I wish life, love, and health for the two of you. It wasn't just evil, it was also designed to destroy OP's relationship with her mother by having her just not show up, so he can say, "See, my mother was there for you. Yours didn't bother to show up when I called." I'm really glad OP called her mom herself. I would have a tough time forgiving that behavior. Birth isn't a spectator sport. The primary purpose of every single person in that room is to support the person in labor and ensure the newborn's health when it arrives. His mother no more belongs there than she would in a men's bathroom. Does he try to bring his mommy to support him while he pees too? I'm always baffled by men not only thinking they have an equal say in birth, but are the authority. I want to ask him why he was staying at his mom's house when his wife was due to give birth. Who leaves their pregnant spouse alone when they're due to have a sleepover with their mom? A mama's boy, that too. It feels like they dehumanized you to just a vehicle carrying their new child/grandchild, which makes me so sad for you. Your poor mom heard you didn't want her there. And of course, you birthing an entirely new human being, no one gave a crap enough to care what you wanted. I can't tell you to leave your husband with a brand new baby, but my God, woman, you deserve so much better here. I'm sorry. My sister and I have very different parenting techniques, but it never bothered me. We have different lives, we both do what works. This isn't me criticizing sleep training before anyone accuses me of that. My sister, her infant, and toddler are staying with us for a couple of weeks. My brother-in-law's dad died, and they're staying in town for the grieving process. He's staying with his mom, but her place isn't big enough for all of them. Before they arrived, my sister told me the baby was still sleep training, and she apologized for any noise at night. I told her I didn't want him excessively crying, and if that'll be an issue, she should make alternative arrangements. She said he'd be fine. They arrived and all was well until she started his nightly routine. He fussed as babies do and started immediately crying, so she proceeded to check on him every 10 minutes or so. She's using the Ferber method, so she checks on him every 10 minutes to soothe him and then picks him up at the hour mark before redoing it all. I was uncomfortable the whole time, and neither of my kids slept very well. Even after he'd fallen asleep, he'd wake up a few times a night and cry, which in turn woke us up too. The next day I told her I didn't want to deal with that again. She apologized and said he's usually down to an hour, and I then repeated that I didn't want to deal with it. That night she started up again, and 40 minutes in, I told her that she needed to hold her baby and calm him down, or I will. She left him for another 10 minutes, so I went in and soothed them. She was upset because I was disrupting their progress. He went down pretty easy after that, but still woke up for a cry a few times. The third night I said from the start that I wouldn't be listening to him cry. If she let him cry and didn't tend to him within 10 minutes, I'd tend to him. I ended up soothing him most of that night, and yesterday I told her she either had to soothe him or they'd have to stay somewhere else because she wasn't welcome to sleep train in my home. She got upset and asked where they were going to go. I said I didn't know. Talk to my brother-in-law's family. Or she could simply soothe her baby through the night as I do. She was notably really upset, but did soothe him last night, and no crying. Still, things are incredibly tense, and our other sister, out of state, has told me I'm being inconsiderate. She just lost her father-in-law and is struggling. I feel bad, but perhaps not as much as I should. I mostly feel bad for my nephew, despite knowing this is fine, and I'm definitely messing up their sleep training journey thus far. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Her parenting techniques are her choice, but it's incredibly rude to expect that she should be able to make other people miserable in their own homes. She needs to be considerate of the fact that she's staying in someone else's home, and those people don't want to be up all night hearing her infant cry, especially when this is disrupting the sleep of other children, not her own. I admittedly don't know much about sleep training, but there's no reason she can't do this when she returns home. How rude to expect an entire household to suffer through that crying just because she doesn't want to disrupt their progress. This isn't a parenting technique. It's child abuse. Babies cannot self-soothe. They're babies. They physically need their parents when they cry, and abandoning them for even 10 minutes at a time doesn't teach them anything other than they can't trust their parents will be there when they cry. It's a horrible myth that needs to die. Oh good, I'm not the only one who thought that this sleep training was horrible. Sister lost her father-in-law, not her father. She's in someone else's home. She can't just deprive everyone else of their sleep. If she went to a motel, she couldn't do that either. She couldn't do that if she stayed at a friend's house. Her circumstances have changed. She can't be obnoxious and impose things on other people, and she needs to delay that until she's back in her home with others who consent to the crying. You shouldn't even have been the one getting up to soothe him. She should have switched the second night and soothed him herself. Tell her to go to a hotel. Just to clarify something before I start, I legally adopted my stepdaughter 6 years ago, so she's my daughter in every way. I refer to her as my stepdaughter in the title because that's how this story happened in the first place. I'm a 32-year-old male. My wife is 34. We've been married for 7 years and have 2 boys together, a toddler and a young child. She also has a daughter, Anna, tween. Her dad isn't involved at all and gave up parental rights days after her birth. Anna has Down syndrome. My brother and his wife just had a baby a month ago, and now our parents have decided they want to do a family photo shoot. I have 3 brothers. We all dressed up nicely as they asked, came to their house, and started posing for the pictures. There was a professional photographer. There were pictures of my parents with sons, each son with a partner, each son with their own family, mom with just sons, and dad with just sons, etc. All was good. When it was time for the grandparents to take a picture with their grandkids, my mother came to me and said, "Can't you just stay with Anna?" I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, for this picture, I just want my grandchildren, not your stepchildren." I was shocked because we don't have much contact because we live a few hours away. They've never shown favoritism like this. I said, "Not, and they can take a picture with all grandkids, or I'm taking my kids home, and she'll miss out on half the grandkids in the picture." So my dad came over and backed my mom up. I repeated what I said to her, and they reluctantly took the picture with all the kids. We left soon after the pictures were taken. A few days later, my mom sent a photo of them with the kids to our group chat, my parents, all their sons and partners, and wrote, "Well, if it's not a perfect picture, all the kids are in it." I just left the chat and called my mom to tell her I don't think we'll be visiting anytime again soon. She's very hurt, as is my father. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Cry me a river, Grandma. Imagine what your granddaughter would feel to see every kid but her in the photo. I would have said she should cherish this photo, as it's the last time she would see her grandsons. You're a good father. They're hurt. Boo-hoo. That's nothing compared to the hurt they could have thrown at your daughter for no other reason than she doesn't have the blood ties the other children have. Absolutely abominable behavior from people who ought to know better. Any hurt they feel is hurt they brought on themselves. An adopted child doesn't mean a visually imperfect picture, but to OP's mom, a disabled one does. This is appalling, and I'm so sorry your parents are discriminating against your beautiful daughter. I hope you at least had lovely photos with your family, and your parents' ugliness didn't ruin those for you too. I, 27 male, recently moved in with my girlfriend, 25. We've been together for a couple of years now. I work the swing shift as a corrections officer at a jail, and I don't get home until a little after 3 a.m. I also have a mix of weekdays and weekends off. She works a more traditional Monday through Friday 9 to 5 schedule. The other night when I came home from work, it had been a particularly chaotic night. I hadn't had a chance to eat, and I was starving. My girlfriend was fast asleep. I had the next day off, but she had to work. I figured on making myself a sandwich or maybe some ramen noodles and then going to bed. But when I looked in the refrigerator, I saw a pizza box. I looked and saw that there were 4 slices of pizza left. I just figured, well, that was sweet of her. She ordered more pizza than she could eat, so I'd have something to eat when I got home. So I warmed up 3 slices, watched an episode of MasterChef on Hulu while I ate them, and then went to bed. I woke up a little before noon the next day to a text message from my girlfriend telling me that I was an inconsiderate idiot for eating her pizza. She said she had intended the rest of the pizza to be her breakfast and lunch for the next day. I texted back that I was sorry, but that she should have put a note on the pizza box or texted me to let me know if she didn't want me to eat it. I also said that if she's going to order food, she should order enough for the both of us, as I would do the same for her. The way I see it, we live together now, so food in the refrigerator is up for grabs, but she's still kind of mad at me, thinking I was presumptuous in eating her pizza. Am I the idiot? Wow, that's so entitled. It's her pizza that she ordered for herself. You assumed wrong, gave a non-apology, and told her it's her fault that you ate it? No, I get that you live together, but she still gets to have her own autonomy in your relationship. That means that she should be able to order herself a pizza while you're at work without having to run it by you, think of you, or order something for you. She doesn't have to be sweet and thoughtful 100% of the time, and she can be doing her own thing in her own time without you. You are the idiot. I would never take leftovers from someone else because I know how excited I can get about eating them later. But on the other hand, when I want to surprise my boyfriend with food or anything, I'll leave a note next to the food. And if you haven't talked about this yet, why did you just assume that you could take it? It wasn't yours. Not the idiot. Times may have changed, but I always work on the assumption that couples share when it comes to something as trivial as leftover pizza. I can understand her being upset, but I don't see why she felt the need to call you names. I really feel for OP. He thought, wow, my girlfriend cares about me. I'm so lucky. Then he woke up to find out his girlfriend didn't care about him and that she thought he was an idiot for assuming she did.